Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Hey, welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to talk about a topic in a different way. We've talked about the stress defense mode or the cell danger response, and there's been some great discoveries on how the body works and how we've been really working at and treating the body. And if you don't know what the cell danger response is, it's a universal biologic response to our environmental stress. Any threats, any infections, any injuries that we might have, the cells go into this danger response, and it's very normal. We need it. So we have to learn and we have to adapt. We go into this response after exercise, fighting infections, healing from injuries, all different kinds of psychological traumas. So we're going to jump into this topic today, take a deeper dive, and help you to understand how Tello유스 and Telomega help the body with this response. And with me today is Dr. Chris. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Tina, and thank you for that introduction. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, this is a great topic. So let's just jump in. Let's see the first slide here.
Great. And we've talked about this slide, and you see these three pictures on the left. This is when our body is in this optimal cell-to-cell communication. We do have that cell danger response or the stress defense mode, and we can handle stressors pretty well, which means that we'll go into a stress mode and then we'll go out of the stress mode. We'll go into the stress mode, we'll go out of the stress mode. And this, again, is a very normal way for the body to respond. And this is when we don't have the symptoms. We're sleeping deeply, we feel good, we have energy reserves, and that vitality. And then we move through time. And this is when we end up stuck in this stress defense mode, where you can see that there's multiple breakdowns in this building. It's not just one thing that has caused the issue. So when we look at being stuck in the stress defense mode, it means that we have many things that can be out of balance that create this being stuck in this mode. And if we look at a lot of disorders or a lot of issues, let's say Lyme's or autism or cardiovascular disease or diabetes, this is a multiple system breakdown. It's not just the electrical going wrong or the plumbing going wrong in the building. Lots of things are related to those specific symptoms that you eventually feel. But one of the things is the common denominator between all of them and what's been proven is that the pathways that are dysregulated are the cell danger response. In other words, we are stuck in that stress defense mode when I mentioned all of those issues. Tello유스 and Telomega help us to reverse in a very multidimensional way to get out of the stress defense mode and move back into that rejuvenation mode. So let's take, for instance, Lyme's disease. Lyme's disease is typically, caused by, a virus. But a lot of us can be bitten by a tick and have the virus, but we don't end up with Lyme's. And why is that? It's because other areas of the body are either weak, they can't handle that stress of the virus, and then we move into the accelerated issues and symptoms of feeling Lyme's. Now, typically, our medical system, they're going to focus on Lyme's. They're going to hone in and they're going to work right on, okay, how do we help with the virus, right? But they're not looking at all of the other areas that are weak to help strengthen and help the body to reverse what's going on with Lyme's. And Dr. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and have you jump in and add to this.
Yeah, and what we're trying to explain is that the last 5,000 years of medical history has really talked about the pathogenesis, the breakdown of the body. And we're going to give you a new term for most of you. It's called cellulogenesis. And what that means, that's the healing and the repair mode. So if you look at the photo on the right, that's what we're talking about. We turn off the stress defense mode and we turn on the rejuvenation mode. And this is what rebuilds and repairs the body. But it takes a lot of other factors. It's just not, you don't just replace the light bulb or the electrical system. It's they're all connected. And that's why we say the body is an orchestration of systems, of organs and systems. And you can, fix a trauma when, let's say, you just cut yourself and the body knows how to heal and repair, and you just go on. It's like, just changing the light bulb in the building and maintaining itself. But when you have this chronic breakdown and it stays stuck in that breakdown, that's when you have to do something significant to unwind it. And Dr. Tina, we'll get into, I think, the healing response is more than just dealing with what caused it, but also the multiple breakdown that happened, just like you said, with Lyme's disease.
Exactly. And cellulogenesis or healing is, very energy and resource consuming. Okay, so it takes a lot of materials to be able to rebuild this building, right? So when you're working in the medical system, a lot of time, well, they don't really give you what you need as far as the materials to rejuvenate, to reverse. And that's why we have such great success with our products with Telluyth and Telomega, because not only are we talking about getting you the materials that you need, we're talking about all those other elements, the diet, the lifestyle, the water, the sleep, all of the other things that you need in order to get out of that stress defense mode and move into the rejuvenation mode.
Okay, so here you see what we're juggling every day. The body is trying to maintain its balance. But when there's this chronic breakdown, you have to do the orchestration of multiple systems. So you see on the right-hand side, we talk about the stem cell system, or the activation of the immune response, the hormone regulation, the mood enhancement, the inflammatory relief. We have to put out the fire, but then the fire is necessary in the beginning to deal with the initial response. So again, as you see, it's multidimensional, and that's the point we're trying to make. And that's the new book of medicine. The second book of medicine is dealing with this multidimensional healing response, the cellulogenesis that Dr. Tina just mentioned.
You got it. It's multi-layered. And this is why when you take your Telluyth and your Telomega, it works on all of these different systems to support them. And here's the other thing that happens. When you're in the chronic breakdown, let's say that your digestion is off, or you're feeling really, really low energy. Well, what happens is the body's systems will back up the other body systems, because we have this survival mechanism in our body. And so the body always will back things up, and then eventually you're just going to feel the chronic breakdown, but you most likely don't feel it while it's happening until it reaches a certain plateau. And so we just want you to understand that when you start to feel the symptoms, you've already had multiple system issues, because the body loves to back itself up for that survival mode.
And here's why we show this slide, because it starts with the healing and repairing of the mitochondria, what's inside the cells, the energy factories inside the cells that allow the cells to repair. So you have this multi-system, multi-layered response that involves both the brain and the body. And this is what we mean by cellulogenesis as a multi-layered process that starts with the mitochondria. And as it goes through the whole body, we're talking about the metabolism, we're talking about the autonomic system, the endocrine system, all the things you see on the right-hand side here of our chart. So it's really powerful to see how when you can start at the cellular level, it's actually inside the cell and facilitate the mitochondrial response, you can deal with this orchestration that's necessary because it all starts with the cell and the cells make up the tissue make the organs make the systems. You've heard us say that over and over again. And this is why we have to look at the body as all connected. It's just a beautiful orchestration that we can facilitate, but only if you start at the beginning, start at the primal level. Dr. Tina, anything you want to add?
I do. I mean, we have this genetic legacy that we're born with, and that means that our body's self-defense, it's nature's oldest law that no organism can survive unless it can defend itself from danger. And you look at all of these different systems, how they need to be orchestrated with each other, but it has to start at this foundational level. And we work here at this level. The problem that's happening right now is that our world is changing so rapidly, and the stressors are coming faster than our genetics can handle it. And so we have to be able to become stronger, replenish, in order for these systems to maintain some type of homeostasis or balance. And if you are not getting that deep sleep, if you're not going to bed and really waking up refreshed, we know that you are dealing with the stress defense mode or the cell danger response, and it's a locked in response. So with Tello유th, when you start to take it, it helps to unlock, because it works on multiple layers, right? And helps you to bring down that cortisol, that stress hormone that is too high at night. It brings that down and brings back up the melatonin so that you can get into the deeper sleep. And, we end up stuck in this cycle where when we have low energy, we can't handle stress. Then we end up in this greater stress. We don't sleep. And then again, we're not rejuvenating. So this is one of the very first areas that we see people shift and change, is have better sleep. Even if it's not longer sleep, it's better sleep, or going to sleep and staying to sleep. And if you're not doing that, we know that there's other areas you probably need to address as well that are causing that cell danger response. Dr. Chris?
It's so important, Dr. Tina, to just stress how the healing process is something that we can facilitate, but in a multidimensional way, because we'll give examples again, like someone gets pneumonia, and the bacterium is just the first step of just destroying that. But conventional medicine will go after the bacterium, but now they have to redirect their energies to fixing the blood vessels and the architecture of the lung that's been compromised. And this is the first time that I've really understood how people that get the long COVID, in our recent history now, we have this virus that created the COVID, and people didn't come out of it because we didn't have this second stage of healing and repair. And so much of that happens when we sleep, right?
It does. I love these examples. And one of the most widely prescribed meds is a statin drug. But there's no study that shows that statins reverse coronary artery disease. Okay, so it doesn't make sense to me. When people combine a very dramatic change in their diet, exercise, possibly reduce or subtract those statins out of the body, they tend to have those angiographic improvements. In other words, their cardiovascular system starts to actually improve, cholesterol starts to balance out as much as 17 to 15% in a year. So it's working on all of those different levels. Dr. Chris, do you want to talk about the blood slide here a little bit?
It's this slide again is an example of how everything can be seen, and one part of the body reflects the rest of the body. And the train wreck on the left-hand side, where all the red blood cells are clumped together, the agglutination, as it's referred to, it shows that the electrical potential is lost, the pH balance in the bloodstream is compromised. And so you have a picture here of the blood, but actually it's a picture of what's going on in the body within all the cells and systems and organs at one time. So it's a snapshot of a way to look at, you're a great diagnostic tool that we want to thank George so much for sharing this with us. As a practitioner, he can look at the blood and help someone understand their whole body issues because it's all reflected there. And this is what a lot of ancient systems have done by, iridology, looking at the eyes, or you look at the oral cavity and see the tongue and the gums and the tissue there, and you can determine so much more about the body. It reflects what's happening throughout, not just in one place. And this is the issue with conventional medicine, where you have doctors that specialize just on one organ, and then if you have a multiple breakdown, you've got four different doctors, and each one of them's throwing these different drugs at you that have different types of side effects and can really complicate your body and overwhelm it, trying to handle not just the relief of the symptom, but the toxicity from the medications that are multiplied by the different approaches that the different doctors try to go after. So it's not just one doctor, one organ. It's a doctor. You need a functional doctor who understands how to look at the whole system. And then when they treat a specific area, it doesn't affect another area in an adverse way. Dr. Tina.
I believe, Dr. Chris, we have finally entered an area where we're not focused on the pathogenesis. We're more focused on the salugenesis, which is that what affects the healing. It is the healing. It affects the repair of the body. So looking at all of those areas, and you've got to look at the basics of good nutrition and water and restorative sleep. What are you doing during the day? What are your thoughts? Removing toxins from your body, connecting to nature, having positive social relationships, and really having that feeling like belonging, because everything is energy. We have to look at every area of our life and make those shifts and changes so that the energy or the frequency or the vibration, we did even faith or meditation, all of those areas need to be addressed. If you have blood on this left-hand side, that's a train wreck, like Dr. Chris mentioned, because Tellouth and Telomega can help support you and give you the space, in other words, the time to be able to make shifts and changes in those other areas so that your blood work, your systems, your DNA, everything can come, back into balance long term. And that's reversing your biological clock.